Hello, hello, hello. Crafty Chris here for another Scrap Your Scraps Thursday night. Tonight I'm making another Christmas page, but this time I'm going to be using someone else's layout. So in Creative Scrapbookers Winter 2022-23, I found this really fun and funky layout, and it's been designed by Rhonda Ivins, and she's from Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. And so I thought that I would recreate this with my own paper scraps and and of course my own doodads and whatever. But I want to walk you through how you kind of figure out what you're doing here in terms of measuring out what's happening. So to get started, I have picked colors that I think are similar to what's in there. So some of the colors you need to have a large piece because this lower section extends quite long. And then the upper section you can have smaller pieces. So that was a major part, is finding a piece of paper that might be the big enough size. So now I'm going to sit down and sort of lay out what I think the measurements are going to be. And I simply sort of look at this as being my 6-inch mark on either side. And then that gives me sort of a gauge of how to work out what's going on here. So when I look at this, I think to myself, okay, that's just a little back from this. So I'm going to call that piece here 5 inches. And then this piece looks to me like it's going to be, well, let's see, let's call this one 1 inch. And so we have 6 inches here, so this could be 3 inches and 3 inches. Now I have to double check that I have 12 inches when I have figured things out. So I have 5, 8, 11, 12 inches. So that looks like that's going to work across the top. Now, I'm going to do the same thing on the side here. So I'm going to call that 1 inch at the bottom. Maybe I'll zoom in just a little so you can see what I'm doing here. It's going to be too close, but at least you'll see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'll just repeat what I did here so you can see what I did here. Let's focus. There we go. All right, so I assumed that this was 1 inch, and here's my 6-inch mark. So 1 inch back would make that 5 inches, and then 5 inches plus 1 inch is 6 inches. So I figured these are equal. So I divided the remaining 6 inches into 3. And that's how I got my measurements for that side. So now we're going to do measurements for this side. So I'm going to assume that's 1 inch because it's very similar to the one that's over here. So we'll call that 1 inch. Here's my 6-inch mark. So this looks like 5 inches. So let's say that it is 5 inches. And then I have sort of so 3 inches would be about there. So let's call this 4 inches. And what's left? 2 inches. Okay, so let's make sure the math is right. 5 and 4 is 9, 10, 11, and 12. So far, so good. So now we're going to do this side, same thing. So there's my 6-inch mark. I'm going to call this 1 inch. And then this goes over 1 inch, so it looks to me like this piece is 6 inches. And so that means this piece must be 5 inches. So 6 plus 5 is 11, plus 1 is 12. Do you see how I'm marking it out? Now I've ripped it out of a magazine, so I need to just put a little piece of scrap paper behind there. Let's use this so I can do my measures. Excuse me. Just going to tape it down. Okay, so my 6-inch mark is around here somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to look at that as being 5 inches. which means that this is like 2 and a bit. So if we make that 2.5 inches, I'm just guessing, of course. So I've got 5, 6, 7.5 inches. So this is going to be, this could be 2.5 inches. If I'm looking at this and this, they're very similar. So what do I have? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then that is 2 inches. Sure. Or that could be 1.5 inches. Let's make that 1.5 inches. And we're going to make this 3 inches. So let's get our white eraser there. And then we'll see if the math adds up. So this is going to be 3 inches. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're missing an inch. All right. 5, 3. See if that's 1 inch. That would be 2 inches. So sometimes I get a little bit anal about it. Let's make that 2 inches. Let's make that 1.5 inches. That is not 6 inches, so it's got to be about 5 inches. So where are we at now? 5, 6, 7, 8.5 inches. So does that make this 3.5 inches then? Let's try it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 inches. There we go. So that works out. So the math all works out to 12 inches on all sides, and that's really what we want. Now the other thing that I want to have is a white piece of paper for the base, because as you can see in this design, they've done a lot of distressing of the edges, and it appears to me that everything is glued onto this white page. So I'm going to get a cheap backing, which is usually what I find in, you know, when you buy paper products. Now this one is actually quite firm, so that's a nice firm backing. I'm going to raise my camera up again so that we can see everything. There we go. And these are all my papers giving a shadow there. Alrighty. So we have our measurements here. And now we just got to figure out how it all lays out. So my center point, the center point that is on this, I'm just going to strap this down here, is probably where everything kind of goes into a point, is probably at the 4" by 4" mark. So I'm just going to quickly do a 4" by 4" mark using my rulers here. So line up my page and find my 4 inches, and I'm just going to do a little cross mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So here and here. So everything is heading for that point. That looks a little low, doesn't it? Yeah, maybe not. It looks like it might be up there. Maybe it's 3 inches by 4 inches. So I'm going to go up a little more. I'm going to do 3 inches by 4 inches. So 4 inches out and 3 inches up. Okay. Just to give us a place to start. Alrighty. Okay, now it is best, I think, to start with the big pieces. And we're going to need to have a trimmer a big trimmer and a little trimmer, so all those things need to be accessible. And the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to mark off the empty spot for the white at the bottom here. And actually, I'm glad that this is a decent kind of paper, because that means that exposed part will be okay. All right, so we said that that was 6 inches with 1 inch from the edge. So I'm going to mark that 1 inch from the edge, and then 6 inches over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where the white belongs, and it's going to go up to this point. So I'm going to sketch this out very carefully. I need a sharp pencil. Excuse my pencil sharpening. All right. So I'm going to start from here, and I'm going to go down to that point I made and draw a, whoops, helps if I draw a good line. Want it to actually hit the points. I've got a bit of shadow here, so it's a little tricky. There we go. And then it's going to go over to this point. So let's go down here. Okay, so this is our white area, and you can just see that my line is very, very light. All right, now I'm going to start with my blue, and I've got this piece of dark blue, but I don't obviously need the whole piece. And I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting on the fly. So if we put this sort of under there, there's a bunch of paper I do not need, but I have to make sure that I don't cut away from the inch. So I am going to give lots of berth, and I'm going to cut diagonally. Oh, that won't be seen, so that's okay. I'm going to cut diagonally. And this is the tricky part. So I have a cutter that I can undo the bottom so that I can actually cut pretty well to the bottom. So that goes out of the way. This comes up here. That goes down there. And I can almost fit the whole page in, but I'll have to do the last little bit by hand. All right. And we're just going to do, make sure you get that lined up. There we go. Now I know some of this isn't going to be used. Where's my big scissors? Here we go. And I'm just going to trim that off, because I know it's longer than I need. And this piece goes back into my junk pile. Now this guy you don't want to lose, so you put that on your magnetic tray. Hopefully you have a magnetic tray. I'm just going to keep it completely open right now, because I know I'm going to be doing this for several pieces of paper. So for all intents and purposes, that should, I'm just a bit short of the 1 inch. All right, so we are going to modify. Luckily, we have that ability. So we're going to move this down I'll show you what the problem is. Let me put that point right where it needs to go. When I flip this over, I only have a 1/2 inch here. I really like the look of a full inch, so I've got a couple options. I can move this out and give the white a larger space, which is not a bad idea. Actually, maybe we'll just do that. We'll move it out a little bit so the white has a little more space. All right, so now I'm going to mark my 1 inch mark here so I know where I'm lining things up. There we go. And that's going to go in the point. I'm lining up here for my 1 inch mark that I made at the bottom. And that is where that's going to sit. Now, I don't want to glue this all down because I have to do some distressing of everything. And the distressing is beyond the measurements. So that means that it's not included in the measurements. So there will be white space between each of the things. So I am just going to pin this where I think it's going to live. Oh, and you should always, because you don't want to have trouble, just take a little tackiness off that. Either put it on your hand, rub it once, so that it'll hold it down, but it won't take the surface of the paper off. So there we go. That's that one. I can even bring it down just a bit more. Here's my fussy coming into play. There we go. Lining that up with the point. There we go. All right. So now my next piece is going to be this piece. And I'm going to use the back. Sometimes I don't like that texture that's on the front, so I'm just going to use the back. And this one we've said is going to be 5 inches wide. So I'm going to mark the 5 inch point. I'm sure there's some mathematical way you can do this, but I'm doing it my way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the 5 inch place. I don't need this at the moment. So now I'm going to rotate, and I need to create a center point that will cover Alrighty. So I do need my ruler. So I'm just going to kind of line up the paper according to that 5 inches. Let's get you in there at the top. Now my cut from the first one has left a little gap in the center. Not a problem because I'm going to be ruffling the sides anyway. And this has to be 5 inches. So just going to estimate 5 inches using my ruler. I'm stuck on the paper down here. There we go. Somewhere on there. All right. So hopefully this will work. Not done this in this way before. So I have a mark there that tells me where I'm going to cut. Lift this guy off again. I'm going to line up the tip at the very top and estimate. There we go. I can feel the edge of the cutter. Where's my point? There it is. Yep. Okay. So now we are going to try to cut that piece. And then we're just going to snip the bottom. I know I have more than I need. And this is going to go back. And this is now my piece that I put in here. All right. Now, did that work? How much am I? I'm off a bit. Alrighty. So I am going to trim off that excess. There we go. Go right up to the top, to my line. So I've got a bit of excess. So that piece is garbage. Okay, now. Perfect. Now I'm lined up. All right. And I've got lots of paper. Everything's lined up. I'm just going to put some tape on here to keep from things shifting. So that's there. Oop, slipped underneath. Okay, that'll go there. This will go here. Okay, so I'm at my 5-inch mark there. And so far, we're looking good. Not too bad. Now I'm going to my next color, which is this color. And this one is supposed to be 4 inches at the bottom. So I'm going to mark my 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. This one's going to be a little easier to measure. And the reason why, oh, I should keep that right into the point, into the corner, sorry. We need a bit more tape there, because when that shifts, everything shifts. Put you there. Okay. All right. So now this has to go to the 4-inch mark. Actually, I just thought of something. Wouldn't it be fun to flip this over? That might make things easier. I'm just figuring this out as I go. So if I put that like that and then flip this over, oh cool. This will be so much easier. I can measure 4 inches and that will give me my spot to cut. Baby ruler. From here to there is my cut spot. There we go. That was easier. All right. And I'm just going to let this release that a bit. And I'm going to go from this point to that point. Oops. There we go. Lost the video there for a moment. Sorry, folks. So that's there. All right. There we go. This can go back in my stash. And now I have my piece for 4 inches here. Turning it sideways. Let's lift this up gently. And put that in. Oh, it lines up perfectly. Very happy with that. And I'm just going to keep doing this process all the way around. So on this side, we have 2 inches here, which measures out, and we have 5 inches across. So I'm going to mark my 5 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to get my next color, which is this light blue. I don't need as much as this, but it was the only piece I had that would fit the color transition. So we're going to do what we did just this last time. We're going to take some tape, make sure it's not too sticky. We are going to, oh, that's a bit damaged here. We'll try this side. Line this up in the center. Butt it up against the other paper. There we go. And stick that down. And then we're going to measure 5 inches up this way. And that will give us our point to cut. 5 inches is there. Okay. Now, I am going to actually take a straight cut across here because I don't want to waste all that paper. Let's just get that done. So I'm going to pop that off. That's my mark for 5 inches, so I can go all the way up to there. And I'm going to give myself a good 3 inches worth. And now this can go in my scraps. I'm going to put this back on the front. Lined up nicely. There we go. And that's where my mark is. So I still have lots of paper. This stuff I can cut off. I'm going to make into squares and things. But that was just too big a piece of paper to lose. So now I'm going from here to there. Am I going from here to there? Yes. So as you get to the top end, the cuts become easier. Your angles are easier. So there we go. There we go. And this should fit in right here. And it hits our 5-inch mark perfectly on this side. All right. Now I have this piece of paper I am going to keep because I can get a nice square out of there. Alrighty. Now the next piece that we have is the little green piece. And we're not going to need all of this. We're just going to need a piece that goes right in there. Actually, that's exactly what we needed. So if I put this piece here, I better measure just to make sure. So we're going over 3. There we go. From there to there is going to be 3 inches. There we go. That's my mark. I'm going to put this paper down. And I'm going to grab a little tape from here because I'm not worried about that side anymore. There we go. That goes there. Flip it over. We got a lot of paper happening here. So I'm actually just going to go over 3 inches. Okay. That's where I'm going to, okay, all right. But I don't want to waste all of this paper, so I'm going to do 2 cuts. I'm going to cut the paper here so it doesn't get wasted. So I have a nice strip I can use. And then this will go 3 inches. There we go. And that will fit in. This I can probably get a square out of. And flip this over. There we go. And let's tuck this back in. And it hits our 3 mark, which is perfect. It's what we want. I'm just going to pull up this tape. And put it there. Okay. Right, and then we have another 3-inch mark we want to make here. There is my ruler. Here we go. 3 inches to here. Because we adjusted down there. That's why that's going to be off. It's not going to be the inch we were looking for originally. All right, yellow. Yellow. I have way too much, way more than I need. Let's just take an estimate. So I only need, let's do it this way. I'm not going to cut all this stuff because I don't want to waste it. So I'm thinking I need a strip that is, I'm just kind of estimating here, a strip that is, I'm going to take a strip that is 2.5 inches wide, just to save some of that. That should be enough to use. The rest goes back in my collection. And this should be enough to get what I need out of it. Yes. I did not plan that properly. I did it the wrong direction. I should have measured it this way. Okay, so this is the thinner of the two. We're going back to the bigger piece because I think I might be able to make the bigger piece work. If we go up there, yes, the bigger piece will work. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to stick these 2 pieces down together with a little tape. I'm going to steal this piece of tape. Put that there. Flip this over. Actually, I'm going to take this blue one out. this lined up. There we go. And we are doing 3 inches to there. That will give us our angle. Everything just fell down. There we go. I needed to keep that one piece on there, so I did need to keep that positioned. So let's put that back into the center, matching up my 1-inch line. There we go. All right. And now sticking this in here. I did my dot. Yes, there's my dot. So now I'm just going to cut point to point. There we go. And that can be a square. This now fits in here. Okay, something did not go right there. That's on the 3 mark. Okay, my mark is lower. That's part of what's wrong. All right, now we can do it. I think the paper must have slipped from here to there. The 3 inches right on that white line. Okay. Flip this back over. This does seem cumbersome. Now that I'm doing it, that's how I'm thinking about it. Maybe there is something on the internet that can help you do this a little bit easier. There we go. Now that'll fit. And I'm just going to trim this out, because this now can be used for something else. And this is going to go in here. Okay, everything is shifted. So, in that this is really cool and fun, I need to have each piece actually stick down to the white, because now everything is shifting, which is not a big deal. I'm just going to make sure everything has a piece of paper and a sticker that sticks it to the white. So down here I'm checking my measurement, sticking this guy down, and then this one, instead of being stuck to that one, is going to be stuck according to its measurement, like that. There we go, and that's a little sturdier. And I'm just going to put this up here So all the points stay together. There we go. Now we're cooking. And now this one is going to go here. Now we are moving to the pink. So if we look at our map here, it's 1 inch over and 2 inches up. So I've got to measure my 2 inch down. Two-inch down. That will be a small piece. So my lightest pink is, that's white. Didn't need white. My lightest pink is this pink. And I just need it to go from there to there. So let me stick that down. And I'm going to take a fair chunk off of it. So I'm going to take from here to there, just so I have an easy piece to play with. Sorry, got that in the wrong direction. I want it to go like this. So right into the center. And now we're just going to pin that there. There we go. And I've got my 2 inches on this side that I'm going to measure. And I'm going to cut this much off. Because I don't want to waste all that to do my thinking. So this is going to be tucked in the center. I don't need this much, so I'm going to cut. Now I have that chunk to keep, and now this chunk is going to be cut on an angle. Make sure I got the right angle. Yes, I do. Everything lines up. I do. And this piece now goes in here. Perfect. And that piece I can make a square out of. Now, I'm going to drop this a little lower. Go. There's the light pink. And now we're doing the peachy pink. The peachy pink is this one. It's going to go in that spot. And it's going to be, peachy pink is 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches is what we need. Okay, seems like not very much. I guess it's all right. And if I put that into the center, I'm going to be able to cut a bunch of stuff off. So I'm going to take this much off so I can keep this piece. And now I'm going to measure other side. Okay, and I need 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches is right there. There we go. And I'm going to make that cut. 1.5 inches. And that fits perfectly. Whoops, except up at the top. There we go. 1.5 inches. Then we get our middle orange, or red, middle orangey red. And this one is going to be 6 inches. No, 3.5 inches. That's what that one is. 3.5 inches. Oh, It just fits. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Okay, so I am just going to cut from there. I just want to get the majority of the paper out of the way. This is going to be staying with me. This little piece we're going to measure. And that's the piece that's going in here. Perfect. It just fits. Woo! That's why you have to get nice wide pieces for this, because you can run into trouble. There we go. And this is great for making some squares. All right, and our final piece is this piece, and it has to measure along there. So it's got to fit in. And I don't think I need the whole thing, but I have to go down to there. Actually, I need most of that to fit that section. All right. We're going to need our first cut to make a nice big piece of paper. It is going to be on this side. And then so let's cut that piece first. Hang on a second. Oops, everything flipped over. Let's just figure this out. I'm going to need most of that paper, so I can't, there's nothing really that I can cut off. So we're going to do this cut first, just to get rid of some of the extra paper here. So let's cut that side first. There we go. This goes into my scraps. Now, that goes into there. Oops, I'm sticking. That goes into there. Then this measurement here is 1 inch. So I have to measure 1 inch on the paper. And that's the angle I'm going to be cutting. Just got to check which corner to which corner. That's the tricky part. This is extra paper. And this goes right in there. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to trim out, but I want to get it all settled right to the end. And then I'm going to take, I'm not going to take all of the paper off. I'm just going to get some of it out of the way, because as you can see, it's hard to work with. And I don't need it all, because we're going to be doing distressing next. All right, that should all be good. Okay, let's pin it down at the top. And now we're going to flip it. There we go, there we go, there we go. Everybody's happy. All right, so now we have to take it down to close to a 12 by 12 paper. So we don't have a lot of extra stuff we have to deal with. So we're gonna do it with scissors, actually, because this is going to be too complicated with a cutter. All right, so I've got my long scissors, because these are long cuts. And let's start here. So we're just going to cut down to a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, whatever, just to have a little bit of playroom after we've done some distressing, to see that we have enough paper and we have some wiggle room if it gets out of alignment. So these pieces are just being trimmed. And all these pieces can be made into squares and smaller strips that I use for other things. And this was all scrap paper to begin with, if you remember, so we're using up our scraps. There we go. And this is just going to make it a little easier to manage. There we go. And that's fine. Okay, so now we're going to do our distressing. And with that, there's a couple of options you have. You can distress using your scissors, or you can distress using a distress tool. Here is my distress tool. You can see how old it is. It's yellowing around the edges. So that's the tool I like to use. One thing I should point out, the paper that's used in this layout has a white core, so you do see some difference with the white. I'm just going for the abused look. So it won't have that nice white inner core showing. So I'm going to take the tape off now, and I'm going to distress each of the pages. And I'll show you how to do it with scissors as well as the tool. All right. So here's my first piece. So with your scissors, you don't want to use big scissors. It's better to use little scissors. You're just going to literally scrape the edge, and you can see how it pulls away at the edge. This is white core paper. Whoops. Don't worry about that. You got to be careful. So you're like literally, you're scraping, but we want to do it fairly aggressively. So you have quite a lot of white showing. When you get to the edges, it's a little trickier because you want to be careful about that. So you have this distressed edge happening. And yes, it makes a mess, so you want to have a garbage can to put your filings into, or a way to wipe it off. And then, so I did one side, now I'm going to do the other side with a tool. I'm not doing the bottoms. I like the tool a little bit better because it really digs in and gives you that super rough edge, whereas this is a lot finer. And I'll show you what I mean in a moment. Just like digs and cuts and make sure I get all the parts. And it's a lot faster. So this is the edge you get with the tool, and this is the edge you get with the scissors. So yeah, this is one, half a dozen of the other. Whatever one you like the best, go for it. All right, so there's one piece done. I'm going to put that up. Let's take off the next piece. Gently remove the tape. And this does not have a white core, but it is going to show an abused edge with the white background poking through. If you have tears and rips, that's all part of the thing. There's my second piece. That's piece number 2. I always clean up after each run because otherwise it will blow and get everywhere in between pieces. So you don't want to have too much lying around. I'm doing these one at a time because I want to make sure that I am doing the right edges. There, for instance, yeah, okay. Okay, so I know which lines I'm actually doing. Okay, according to the layout, let's go back to what we were doing here. Now, we want to make sure that it fits in absolutely properly. And I'm just going to do a little bit of a trace on the first one because I want to make sure that I get it glued down properly on the first one. So I want to make sure my glue is in the right place because that first one sets the spot for everything else that comes along. And this is quick dry glue. So I want to get it right up in the top, right along the edge, and make sure that it all kind of lines up. There we go. So I'm very happy with the positioning of that. Now, each of the pieces that comes afterwards, we are lining up on the mark that we made for the width of this from the point in the center. So in this case, it goes something like that. And so you can see that nice distressed line in between. If you remember, this was a little bit bowed when I cut it. So it works itself out in the end. And I'm just going to make sure I have glue along the edges up to the points. Now, I am remembering that I have about 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch overhang on these. So I'm making sure that everything is lining up perfect. And I did over glue on that, so let's just get rid of that glue. And then the next blue piece, the lighter blue, we want to line that up. I'm just going to draw a line here. And I think it's better to glue on the board. Beautiful. And then our light blue goes in here. There we go. And there is our finished base. Oh, I'm loving it. It looks so fun. Okay, so now let's just make sure it's all flat. Push that down, and we're going to trim it on the back side. Actually, we're going to do this with scissors. Because it's just a little easier. There we go. And we are done. Now, I do have to erase a couple of lines that I can see here. There we go. And our picture is going to go there. Wow. Okay. So, here we are. We've done all of that work. So the other thing that is in this particular image are these dots and along the edges like it's been sewn, and they look very uniform, so that tells me some sort of a tool was used, and I have a tool that will do that. I have the Tim Holtz new ruler. Let me just get it out. And it has little hole things. Now, it is too small for me to put a pencil through. Or maybe it isn't. Let me see. Let me sharpen my pencil. I don't have any other tool that can do this. So let's just see if I can get, it starts on this edge, just trying to line it up. Now let's see if it will poke through. Did it poke through? Oh, it did. Awesome. So I am going to lay out my dots and I will show you what it all looks like after the fact. So I'm just sticking, make sure it's all lined up, my pencil in and putting dots in each of these holes. And sometimes it'll be very close to the edge, sometimes it'll be away from the edge depending on your distressing. And that's okay. What will happen is this will just be super even. Now, if you're using this to actually stitch, you would use a, what do you call it? A pokey tool. Okay, so now I don't know if you can see those dots, but I can see my pencil lines, and that's what I'm going to use with my white gel pen. We're going to use an 8. Let's use an 8. And with gel pens, you want to make sure you have them started before you try to use them. So I just take the pen and I roll the edge to make sure any crusty stuff is off and do a test on my mat. And then I go in, and because I can see the dots, I'll go in and make little, reinforce those dots. And because they're already there, everything should look very uniform. And I'm thinking it's even too small, so let's go a little bigger. All the way up to the top, because we don't know exactly where we're going to have our photo, but somewhere in here, so I'd say that would be enough. Just make sure they all look even Steven. There we go. And that was pretty quick. I've never done it that quick freehand, that's for sure. So I'm going to go away and do this on all of them, and I'm only doing the lower half. I like the idea that she's used only doing the lower half. So I'm going to do the lower half on each and every one of these, and I'll be right back. Okay, we are finished with all the dots. So one thing I want to point out is, in order to have dots on either side of this white spot, the artist Rhonda, she put double dots on the red one, so to switch the direction so that she could have dots coming down both sides of the white area. So that's one thing you should know. And then if we look at the photo, we have splatters of white paint. Now, you can do this with liquid paint, you can do it with whatever you want. I happen to have Posca markers. Now, Posca markers are great, but depending on the size of marker you have, and you can see I've got so many different options here. This one is a Spectrum Noir one. It depends what the size of the splotch you want. So let me just show you on some scrap paper. All right, so here's my blue paper so I can show you. I can use the other side when I'm done. So you got to make sure all of these guys are shaken up in order to get something coming out of them. So this is the big marker, and I just want to pump once, make sure it's loaded, and it is. And then I'm just going to hit it against my white paper. Now, not much is coming out of this. This is a chisel tip. The purpose of this is to do nice thick lines. So we're not getting a lot out in for the technique that we want. So we're not going to go to the big one. The next size up, let's get that pumped up. Okay, you want it to be pumped nice and juicy. And it gives us tiny ones too. But every once in a while, look at that. This one is getting good splatters now. You're starting to see the nice big splatters which we want. So we're going to hang on to that one. I'm going to try the Spectrum Noir. I get it nice and loaded and gushy. Oh, wow, this one really lets it go. Ah, okay. I'm switching my mind. We're going with Spectrum Noir. And I just covered my marker with it. And then, of course, you have other tips as well. Anything that has the round tip seems to be the best for this technique. This is a round tip, but it's got a plastic casing on it, so it's meant to be a fine liner, so that wouldn't work as well. And then, of course, the middle tip ones don't really give anything off. So I'm going to stick with the Spectrum Noir, and it's a 3mm, if anybody is looking for that information. And we're going to use this. And we practiced already. I always suggest that you practice before you do it on the paper. And now we're going to go all over the paper with some splatter. It looks like, if I'm looking here, she's sort of focused in the center area there, but it's pretty much all over. Now you want to make sure that you are pumping up your guy, your pen. You're whacking it nicely. Oh, that's pretty. That is very pretty. Okay, that was a good set of whacking. And now I'm just going to rub my hand over my workspace because it often will get where you're working to. It's probably better to have a mat underneath, but look how pretty that is. That worked out quite nicely. All right, now we're ready for the next step. Okay, so in this photo, or in this shot of this layout, it looks like there's a 4x5 or 3x4 photo in the center here. I want to switch it out and make it a 4x6, and it is also double matted. So I've pulled out some of my scraps from before, and I'm going to show you how to create a mat when you don't have one that's big enough. So I'm going to show you how to match paper to get part of it. And I am not going to distress the edges. I am going to do a fussy cut around the edges. So I need a different paper cutter. And this is why I have 9 paper cutters, because they all do something different. So I want to save as much of this paper as I can. Now, I have to think about this. This is 4x6, so a usual 1/8 of an inch round adds a quarter to each side, so it becomes 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. But then we're double matting, so that becomes 4 1/2 by 6 1/2 on the bottom paper. So we are going to do the 4 1/2 first, and I'm just doing straight cutting on with this paper, by 6 1/2. Whoops, I need this. 6 1/2. Okay, so I have some pieces left over. Oops. There we go. So this is my 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. Now that's a huge piece of paper to hide underneath the photo. So I am going to take the inside out of this so that I can use it for something else. What I do is I just line up my paper and give myself a 1/2 inch border all the way around. And this cutter is great for that because it has all those measurements. And I just simply go around And sometimes I just eyeball it. And I just make sure there's a 1/2 inch all the way around. There we go. Now, sometimes the corners don't cut out right to the inside edge, so I just take my fussy cutting scissors. I like these Spellbinder scissors because they snip right to the very end. My Cutter Bee ones, they're great for fussy cutting, but they don't snip right to the edge, and you'll see what I mean here. So I want to go right to the edge, and listen. You can hear it cut right to the edge. And you know you're getting, sometimes I go up from the bottom if I want to make sure. There we go. You know you're getting it cut off perfectly. And you can make those teeny tiny cuts with these scissors because this tip is amazing. And the Cutter Bee, like I said, are great for fussy cutting, but if you're doing very intricate cutting like this, I like to use the Spellbinders. So now this is a piece of paper that goes in my stash for another layout. And here I have my frame, and there's going to be a photo on top of it, so that's perfect. Now, that's my flat frame, and I'm thinking I don't want it to be so flat. So this one I think I will distress. So I'll get my distressor out. So I'm going to distress that one. But this one, this is going to be the 4 1/8 by 4 1/8, but this is all the paper I have. So I'm literally going to cut this. Do I have enough paper? 4 1/8. Let's make sure I have enough paper, which is not going to work. So how can I play this? Okay, so I'm going to cut. I want to trim the outer edge, and I want to do a decal edge. This is a great cutter because it has multiple heads all stored in the bottom, and I can just flip out my straight edge for my decal edge, and I am going to trim very closely along the edge of this paper. Actually, I'm going to cut the 6 1/8 inches first. And I'm just going to do it 6 3/16 so that I have a little bit to cut off to get a decal on the other side. And it gives me a deckled edge. Okay, so now I'm going to go in, line that up to 6 1/8. And it should be able to give me a decal on this side. There we go. Got my decals on both sides. And I want one side to have a decal here. But I'm being very cautious about, whoops, I wiggled. There we go. Fixed it up. All right, so there is one side of my photo. All right, so this gives me just a little bit of yellow all the way around, which is perfect. Okay, but I want to get rid of the inside, so I'm going to, because I need more, so I am going to take my 1/2 inch out thing again, because I got to have enough yellow. I'm literally piecing together this mat. And it won't matter because we have all these edges and things, right? So piecing, piecing, piecing. There we go. I love these scissors. They are so intricate. There we go. So this piece now I can use to add to create the rest of this mat. So right now I have this much and I have to get over here. So this is just a bit shy, but I'll have more than enough. And then I just have this little 1/4 inch piece that's a problem. So I am going to cut a 1/2 inch and then a 1/4 inch on that side with my straight blade, because I don't need to have all of this paper wasted. There we go. And I'm going right down to a 1/4 inch. Ooh, I almost blew it. All right, so I'm going to trim this out. Okay, that paper is good for something else, maybe even this. And we are going to join these two pieces of paper two pieces of frame together, like so. Oh, I maybe should have done that. Oh well. I have a feeling I made a boo-boo, but we will see. So we're joining these guys up like this. The top piece, worry about the tape afterwards. We're joining this up here. There we go. All right. So this is our frame so far, and I'm thinking I should have left, yes, I should have left this on the inside before I did my cutting. So we're going to put that back in and make sure it's taped. This is actually the piece I cut out, so it matches perfectly. We're going to tape this all down nice and tight, because otherwise it will fall apart when we do our deckling. Okay, so we now need to do our six and an eighth deckling. So we pop out, put that in. I'm just going to trim this off. Put back there. This is going to go in. So we're doing 4 and an eighth deckling from top to bottom. There we go. All right. So these pieces stay in place. I'm not going to trim that out now at this point. And I just need a small little bit at the bottom corner. I happen to have a piece that's already deckled. So we're going to see if we can somehow merge those pieces together. I can always trim it out again. Because there's so little of this one that you see, this is why you can get away with doing this kind of thing. And as long as we cut it in the same direction, there we go. That gave us that edge, and that gave us that edge. Now it's slightly imperfect at that corner, so I'm just going to take my scissors and round these two cuts so they look like they exist together. Alrighty, I've put this on the wrong side, so let me flip it over and stick it down on the other side instead. go. There we go. And now I can take this stuff off of here. And this is the side that we're going to see. And literally we won't see it. So I'm going to put let's put this all on the page first. Let's just do the damage on this one. And in future I'll remember to do this before I cut the inside out, because that makes it a little challenging. Get all the gunk off my desk. Okay, so now we have this. And we are going to put this frame here. Want to have room for, and I'm just going to glue this straight down. Or am I? You know what? I want to give it some dimension. So I am going to use 1mm pop dots. So it's not very thick. It's the thinner of the two options out in the market. And I am going to use that to just lift this slightly up so it doesn't crush what's going on in the layout. So we're just going to put some of that 1mm on there just to give it a little bit of height. There we go. I don't think she's done that. I think hers are all pretty flat down. But I like the idea of popping it up a little bit. And I want to have room for a title. I want to make sure this all looks even. There we go. And that just gives it a bit of lift. All right. And then this, we're going to put right on top of there, glued down, but I have to take away some of the tape that's at the edge here and fix this little bit. Little tweaking here and there. So I've got some tape that's hanging over, so I'm just going to go down and follow the cut line. There we go. That I don't care about because it's underneath. And then we're just going to glue that flat. And we only need to glue along the edge. Now, when you do this with a thicker border, you want to make sure that you're really not piecing together so many little bits and pieces like I did here. You want to make sure that your pieces are much larger than these little bits down here. So if you can see all the little quarter pieces, you want them to be larger if you're going to do this technique. Now I don't have a photo for this yet, but I do have my photo mat, and I'm just going to put my photo mat on top so I know where everything goes. And I have tons of tape to help me do that. I'll put that there and there. And line it up so you can see the yellow around the edge. There we go. So there we are. Now, in terms of the decor, I do want to have some kind of either a stamp or a cutout or some kind of thing. So let's look at what she's got. She's got houses, snowflakes, presents, 'tis the season, time to celebrate. Lots of things going on here. So I'm sure I can find that kind of stuff. And this is a recipe, so that's pretty cool that She's given you the recipe with that. I'm not thinking this is going to be a recipe thing, but it certainly is going to be a page in the family album. And so it should have some sort of a title and a date perhaps. So let's pull some things together for that. All right, to save you the pain of watching me go through all my stuff, I have gone through bags and bags and bags of things and pulled out a bunch of stuff that can be altered to fit into the color scheme. There's always markers that can change the colors of things as well. So I have some, let's get the little critters out of the way and the houses out of the way. I love houses, so, and Santa. So I was trying to pick up, and these guys I can just trim off and just have as white, or I can color them. So those were options as well. Not sure about that or that, because I didn't really want to bring gold into it. Now I have Christmas holidays or Christmas wishes, or I can put it all together and say Christmas holiday and cut off the Y, the S, Christmas holiday wishes. So there's all kinds of things, and home was just all ready to go. I also have this kind of joy that fits in the color that's over here, and it's just simple cutout letters, joy. So an awful lot of options. I like this sentiment. I think I want this to go at the bottom, but I want to cut it down severely. So I'm going to trim this down to 1/8 of an inch around the last part of the letters. Now this cutter is great because if you line everything up with the edge of the plastic that holds your paper down, you get exactly 1/8 of an inch beyond that. So I lined this up with the edge of the plastic. And then I just cut all the way around. And that usually handles it for me. There we go. So that's much smaller. So I like that down here. Home for the holidays is awesome. Christmas, holiday wishes, I like. Joy, I like. So it's just a matter of figuring things out. Now this was going to go over here hanging out from the side of the photo, and I kind of had it working with this to give it a bit of weight. So I think I actually might do that and trim that off a bit so that it fits together. So I'm looking at that as being an element for up in that corner. This is not the same red, but I think if I trim it down to its basic message, I will be able to get away with it. Again, lining up with the edge of the text and trimming down all the sides. Really gives it. There we go. All right. Anyway, moving that along. So home for the holidays is something that can be added. And Christmas holiday wishes. We can poke out the O of joy. We can put joy in the corner. Maybe we can even do it diagonally, like joy, oi, oi. Something like that. What else can we do? All I want for Christmas is you. These little things look like they might even punch out. Do they? No, not very easily. Now, I do have a mini punch, so let's see what we can do to make this look more real. I went offline, but it still looks like a punched edge. If I had stayed straight, it would have looked fine. Looks fine anyway. All right. I like Home for the Holidays, but I don't like the black. So we are going to do that 1/8 of an inch thing, which seems to be enough to get the black off all the way around. I just feel like it's a little bit cleaner and less conflicting if it's in white, and I can make it fancy with a fancy corner rounder. With smaller pieces like this, you have to be a little bit more careful about how you lay them in. There we go, because it is easy to get off. Centered. There we go. Look at that. Nice little piece. Not sure about that yet. Let's see. I like the word home. Something like that, maybe. Putting these guys up here. Christmas holiday wishes. I don't know. Can this go over here? Nope. I have an idea for some of these other things, so I think I'll just keep this. I like this because it's in the colorways. Whether I use it or not, I don't know. Thought it'd be fun going across the bottom like that. This is going to be staying properly. Some of the other things will be crooked. That'll be straight. Okay, so I have these houses. Let's look at the houses in a church. Some may be too big. What else do I have here? I'm going to have Santa upside down coming through. So I have a house. I have a church. And I have another house. And then I have the word home. And I thought I could do something like this. And this is kind of all related to the same sort of theme of everyone comes home for Christmas. Then we have Santa. Now, could Santa be coming out of there? If we took this away, would that add or not? Nope, too big. Okay, let's go back to this being here, that being there. I like this little vignette. So it's just a matter, oh, and I even have this little house. There we go. We have a whole neighborhood. Or I could put this little house up there. There we go. Home. All hearts come home for Christmas. I'm liking that. Now, what else do I have? I have some pink. Which kind of falls in line with the colors that are there. I have a coffee mug. Which could go here. And I could go juxtaposed to that. So I'm now completely going away from what she's been doing because I don't have her themed stickers and stuff. So I am moving on to my own themes, stickers and stuff. I have a snowman. And I have a bear. And what else do I have? And then I have Santa. Not sure about that. We have Santa coming out. It's kind of funny. It's like a picture of him coming out. And he's coming away out of the screen. You can anchor that with snowman at the bottom. We may not use the polar bear. Here's another one that says home for the holidays. Kind of like that. And then we could have Christmas, holiday, wishes. Across the top or not. We're building too far out from the centerpiece, I think. What am I not liking? I think that needs something heavier up there. So maybe this can hang out in that corner. You could put J-O-Y here. No. What about if we had a snowflake for the O? Maybe something like that. I can put two things together for joy. There we go. Something like that. And then we have Christmas is better when we are together. Something like that. I feel like I need something here. Okay, do I need a stocking? Nope. Do I need to let it snow? Nope. Do I want a ribbon? Nope. I need something for this though. It is not lifting off the page very much. These guys. These guys are a maybe. They may end up being something different, and these might be drawn in. I might use some of these to go around the central saying. Okay, so I am going to take a picture of what I got so far, and I do this on all my layouts so that I remember where I put things. And now I just put this here so that I can look at my page wherever I'm working on it. So when I take things off, it works out that I get things back where they belong, and I don't have to worry about things going flying off my page because I'm taking them off right now. All right, so I think I like this, and I am going to just glue that right down. Oh, I have two of those. Isn't that interesting? I only need one. And I'm going to make sure that that is going across the page evenly. Now it's sticking up because of the the distressing. Now once I take this off, this becomes much littler than it was, which I may like better. And I'm just going to snip the edge because I want a flat edge to stick under the corner. So it's like it's coming out of the side of the photo. There we go. I like that. Now this cluster I like, but we're going to start with the one in the back first. So this one's about an inch out. And we're going to glue this one down flat, and then we're going to make everything else pop. So this guy's going to go down about an inch. I would say about there. There we go. All right. Now this is thicker, but I'm going to put the thin pop dots on it, the 1mm pop dots on it, just to give it a little more pop than it currently has. And then I had that sort of around there. Okay. And then I had this pink one in the background rather. And that one was about as high up as the other ones were. Stick that down. It's in the back, so it's further up the hill. And then the blue one is going to be, we're going to have the thinner pop dots and the bigger pop dots. So a thinner pop dot there, bigger there, bigger there. So this gives one layer, and this is 2 layers, but we already have a layer there, so that's why if we add this layer to that layer, it equals this layer, if you get my meaning. This was around there. There we go. That gives another bit of depth. Home. Now, the thing about pulling apart foam letters is you got to pull the backing out from the back of the letter rather than pulling it from the front. If you pull it from the front, you get little creases on the letter. So what you want to do is you want to pull from the back so that the front doesn't ever really bend. There you go. And there's little bitty bits here that I gotta get off that are the parts of the O. And now this I have just resting in here. There we go. Then we have these guys, and I'm going to round the corners on these. I have another punch that just does rounded corners. And I'm going to take the small rounding corner, or the small corner rounder, just to take away those harsh edges. I find that sometimes, and that one we've already got done. Let's see, how do we look here? Now, I had this tucked under the house, so I'm just going to carefully lift up the house and tuck that under there, like so. So this is going to go flat on the back. There we go. Tucking that under. And I have to stand up to make sure it's straight. There we go. And now I can just put a little more glue there. There we are. And this I'm going to pop with the thin dots, or the thin 1mm stuff. And I think I'll just want one piece right across. Take a little bit off of that. And this just kind of sits underneath Christmas. There we go. There's my little home collage. So this I'm liking. Now, let's go up here because I liked the two things I had sticking out under here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the top edge and with the 2mm. So I'm going to cut this down the center. You can get pop dots that are strips. I just happen to like the wheels. It's more flexible for me. I can do whatever I want. So I am going to pop dot across the top, but not the bottom. Take off the excess. There we go. I always keep the excess because I can find places to use it. And then this is going to go across the top as well. There we go. And then I'm just going to slightly bend it. I don't really have to do it to this one because this one's already, and I'm going to glue the bottom edge. So this one is going to go in about there. There we go, that's popped. And this one I'm just going to bend a little bit, put some glue on the bottom edge and sticking that underneath. So this is going flat and that's going to be pop dotted. There we go. So I like that. I want this pop dotted in the bottom. So we're going to take our 2mm. I happen to have these two little pieces left. And we're going to pop dot this. I like to pop dot a fair amount. And now I'm going to center this. And I will do something to bring that out. Now this coffee mug, I have to decide if I really want that at the corner here. That's kind of cute. Fills that spot. So we're going to double that. We are going to stick this on here. It's actually going to stick there. And I'm not going to stick the top. Normally I would dust this, but I don't think I'm going to have a problem. I like that. I'm just having a hard time with the side here. You can do the joy. So I actually don't mind the joy over top of the snowflakes. So let's do that. I want it to be sort of centered. Put some pressure on it, and I noticed I have to trim a little because this has a little knobby on it. I don't like the knobbies. I'm a little fussy that way. Okay, so there's the O, and the J has a knobby. J, O, Y. Good enough. All right. Now, let us think. I think I'm going to put this on 3D tape. And we were going to do something with that, right? That can pop over the edge of the photo. I think I need to bring this down a little bit more from that edge. Let's do that. And we're going to glue the Y. Sometimes it's hard to get it lined up. The glue dries so fast. That's where you want different kinds of glue. Okay, there's my joy. This guy can pop dot in the corner. And pop dot in the corner, wrong side, because it's just gonna, oh no, that's right. It's just gonna lay over the photo, so you can slip the photo underneath. So that is gonna go there. This pops all up, but you can slip a photo underneath there because these are not attached. Perfect. Now, this is the tricky part. Does that add anything? If I take away the snowman and just have Santa, I think we need it. It needs to kind of anchor it. All right, so Santa is going to go right about there. He's going to get put down flat. So now I need something there, and I need to highlight this somehow. So I think I'm going to use some red dots, glitter dots, and these come in different sizes, so I think I'm going to play with the sizes as well. I have a little triangular tray somewhere where I can pour these into so they don't go rolling everywhere. There we go. Okay. Now, let's grab my little wax tip, and if I did large, medium, I did something like that at the corners, that would maybe highlight, but maybe I should do these corners. So let's lift that one up. That will bring some of the focus down to that area. So I think I can live with that. I need something up here. These are too heavy, so we're not going to use those. Or do we just leave it off? Oh, I forgot I have this too. This is fun. I like push pins. They're just a fun little thing. Just gives it something else up there. Something for here. Let it snow. Could the bear be popping out? Let's see. If I had the bear just pop out. All right, let's snip along here. I'm going to take some of the bear away and just tuck him under there. I think that's all I needed to finish this off. I like it. Okay, some things I didn't use, some things I did use. Now we have to do the finishing touches, and that is the Wink of Stella and the glossy accents. Wink of Stella. Now I have gold already on here, but it's a cold enough page that I think I'm going to use silver sparkle. And then I have my glossy accents. So the first thing I'm going to do is sparkle up the Joy. I find it too flat. And sometimes I put 2 coats on. It depends how much glitter it settles into, because it does settle and it's not always even. And sometimes your paper resists it a little bit, so you need that second coat to kind of bind it. There we go. So there's the Joy Sparkle. You can see that bit of a shimmer there. Now, where else did I want some sparkle? On the berries. Let's see what else. I can't put it on there because it won't accept it. A little bit of sparkle on St. Nick's belt and the carrot. And that's about it, I think. All right, and now we're going to go in with the three-dimensional liquid glue stuff. We're going to start with anything that is a circle or a dot, like the snowman's mouth and his buttons and his eyeballs. I may come back and do the carrot. I'm going to do the berries on the bow, and I think I'll add some dimension to the balls and the nose and eyeballs. What else do we have over here? Where I put sparkle in the berries, now I'm going to put glitter over top. That's always fun to do. I think I am going to do the nose. There we go. And I'm going to do the letters. And I try not to scratch them. And the O. Sometimes you just can't find that sticker, that 3D puffy sticker that you really want. So the glossy accent stuff is the stuff that makes those things happen for you. You just have to be careful and patient when you're putting it on, that you don't go over the lines. And if you do go over the lines, you go back quickly to get it off, like right now. I have too much on my snowman's nose, so I just go in with a sharp object that will not cut my paper, of course, and I take away the excess. There you go. All right, now I think I'm going to put some sparkle in the windows, like there is light coming through. So we'll have a little sparkle up here in the door and these windows. The nice thing about the brush tip is you can go very fine and very controlled. Alright, I'm just going to put little circle dots here because it's going to be hard to get into those teeny tiny windows. The upper window already has gold in it. And then these guys. There we go. I'm just going to cover this entire window. There we go. And that makes it a little jollier. Oh yes, I have to glue these guys on at the bottom. So let's get our pokey tool thing again. My glue. And we're going to move these out of the way. So I want it right at the corner. And then this one will come down there. There we go. That one will be there. This one, go right in the corner. The little one right about there. And this one right about there. Alrighty. And that, my friends, I think is our finished page. Look at that. So let me bring out the original. So here's the original. And this is my take on the original. Isn't that fun? I recommend you trying this whole distressing technique. It's quite interesting. Her distressing is a little bit more aggressive than mine because I was not quite sure how it would all play out. But it looks lovely. I love it. So have a great day. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel for more free content, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye.